Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Esther Giordano on the line, and she's a speech language pathologist and creator and author of Junganew, A Herd of Sounds. Esther, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. So I'm excited to have you on the show. I know you were one of our giveaway winners, and when I saw your picture on LinkedIn, and then when I saw the topic, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to bring a new book to our audience and help a lot of people with this. So really excited to get into your work.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
So maybe just to get us kicked off, how did Junganew come to be? What was the inspiration behind this?
So it's a crazy story because it actually started when I was a little girl. I unfortunately had my parents passed away when I was 12 years old, and I had to live in a lot of homes, which unfortunately were very abusive, and I worked my way into becoming an emancipated minor. So I really basically raised myself. But in that tumultuous journey, I met my ninth grade biology teacher, Mr. Shulman, who was such an inspiration to me. He really helped me to learn to love myself, and he would teach me these life lessons, and he would bring me to the Bronx Zoo. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and so he would bring me to the Bronx Zoo, and we would talk about the animals, and he would just teach me just life lessons, really. So it was just this wonderful thing, and he essentially gave me my voice in a world where I was pretty much silenced. And so I decided I wanted to pay it forward and help children to feel safe and give them their voice. So I became a speech language pathologist. I thought that was the best way to do that. And when I was working with some kids in the school setting, a lot of them had some speech sound disorders, and we would work on that. And I found that it was just very boring. It's a lot of drill type of therapy, and the kids were not excited about coming to speech. So I decided to just turn this around and make a speech club that was fun, and we would just start to role play, and each sound became an animal that they liked, and I took that from my love for animals from the Bronx Zoo, and we started to just learn that way. So we would have one child in one corner being the snake for learning the S sound, and another child in another corner being a frog for the TH sound, because frogs stick their tongues out when they catch flies. And so if the child said the sound in error, we wouldn't make it like it was an error. We would be like, oh no, you have to go over by Theo the frog. And, so we would go over there, and they would then say their sound that way. And so it was this comparative type of lesson, and they would learn what they were doing, and it was just so much more fun. And we built in a lot of language and social skills. So I thought this is a great way, if I can get this out to the masses of children. My goal then would be to bridge the gap between the special needs and the mainstream population of children, and hopefully they could all fall in love with this herd of characters that I created.
Wow, what an amazing story. And I mean, just the way you describe it, I don't know if it's just your energy for the project, but it's infectious. I'm like excited. I want to see this in action. This is good. So So I understand, can you tell maybe about the significance of what, I don't want to assume that everybody listening to this kind of understands the importance of learning these sounds, pronunciation, development during this early childhood years as a speech language pathologist. Maybe can you go a little bit further into what some of the things that the book teaches, but also why?
So you're asking first about the significance. So let me tell you a little bit about that first, and then I can tell you what the book teaches. So 10 to 15% of preschool children have speech sound disorders, and 8 to 9% of school grade children have speech sound disorders. This impacts early literacy and academic skills. Three quarters of children who have speech sound disorders end up having language difficulties, which is linked to learning disabilities. Their academic skills are affected because they have decreased auditory listening skills, phonological skills, verbal memory skills, and so it affects reading, writing, and so when a child has a speech sound disorder, it's a red flag for future academic difficulties. Unfortunately, it also affects, it's basically a social disadvantage because a lot of children, their self-image is bruised and they get bullied. And so learning your speech sounds really is all-encompassing. Communication, speech and language is the essence of all communication. So it's important that we teach children very early on, and so that they build their self-esteem and they are better prepared for academic skills. And so the book teaches speech sounds. And what I did was I picked 5 commonly errored sounds that children make. Usually they have difficulty with the sound of S, TH, F, R, and L. They can have a slew of other difficulties and other sound disorders, but I chose the first 5 that are most common. And so the book really consists of 5 short stories. And the characters go on a journey to learn their sounds alongside their friends. They're herd. And it's an eclectic group of herd. So I know that when you have a herd, it's all one animal. I wanted a multicultural experience, and we have different animals coming together as one herd. And they go on this journey, and they learn to teach each other. They become the teachers and the students for each other to learn their sounds for a special school event that was an assignment given by Miss Snape. So it really teaches the sound in isolation. It teaches the sound alongside different vowels and at the word level, and it teaches the sound in different positions of a word so that we can then form correct words and bring us to the sentence level. And we do this in a comparative, contrasting way so that children can understand that the sound that they made was correct or in error. So it gives them what we call a metalinguistic skill, which is to think about the sounds that you're saying and how we can now say them correctly. It brings in language skills such as rhyming and phonological awareness, auditory memory, and all of these skills are pre-linguistic skills and that we need for reading and writing and all of our academics. So we teach movement for each sound. Each sound is associated with a movement, which we call embodied cognition. And we do this with musical strategies and movements so that the children really can get this whole body experience for learning that sound. And most importantly, they're learning this through cooperative and collaborative play, where they really come together as a team and they really learn how to treat each other and have that social experience, because that's really what communication is. It's a social experience. So that's basically all of that encompassed in a story-based program to teach the sounds.
So Esther, what makes this program different from other programs?
Well, I mean, it's different because it's done as a story. It's not this drill type of therapy where we're just working on a sound. Sounds are not learned in a bubble. We have to incorporate the language skills and the social skills, like I mentioned, and we do this through a story. And the story brings in our literacy, which we need for school early on. The earlier children are reading, the better. And each character and their habitat and the activities that they bring to the play all represent the target sound that we're working on. And so the musical strategies and the movement-based strategies are all evidence-based practice where we're really providing a multisensory approach so that the child is really experiencing their sound and not just learning it for the moment. They're really just getting this whole body experience. So it's a systematic program, yet it's all-encompassing with all the things we need to learn, whether it be pre-linguistic or linguistic. And I think that all of that together helps children and all children so that nobody would ever be excluded. Special needs and mainstream children can come together with a common link.
Fantastic. Well, Esther, I have to tell you, it's really been a pleasure and an education for me having you on the show today and learning more about Junganew, A Herd of Sounds, why you created it, and really how you're paying it forward to the next generation with this book. I mean, you're going to affect a lot of lives with it, so exciting stuff.
Thank you.
That being said, if somebody wants to learn more about the book or to connect with you and your work overall, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can go to junganew.com. www.junganew.com. You could find the book on Amazon or at Barnes & Nobles under Junganew. And my email, if somebody has any personal questions, I always love to provide any therapy ideas for parents. This is really a great program for teachers, but parents as well, because in this day and age of COVID, where parents are really required to become active participants in their child's education, parents really don't understand how to do this therapy type of learning. I welcome them to reach out and ask questions, and you can reach me at Esther, ESTHER, at junganew.com.
Fantastic. Well, Esther, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your new book. Definitely want my audience to go check that out, Junganew, A Herd of Sounds. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to be a return listener. And we have many more great guests just like Esther coming up for you, and we don't want you to miss anything. And Esther, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.